Hey, fifth grade friends, this is Miss Stacy. We are looking at converting customary units of length, and then we're going to talk about converting metric units of length. So we're going to start with page 807 right now because it has a reference to the conversion. So we notice that with the U.S. customary, we use inches, feet, yards, and miles, and so you can use these measurements to do your conversion. So let's start with page 811, number 1. And remember, we're only doing specific numbers because in fifth grade we are doing the Let's Study Math. We're converting a larger unit to a smaller unit. So Let's Study Math means we're going to multiply. So we're going to start with 5 miles equals how many yards? Well, you have to know how many yards are in 1 mile. And when we look at our reference table, if we need to, we see that there are 1,760 yards in 1 mile. So we write that here. And we are going to be multiplying because it's going to go from a larger unit to a smaller unit. So 5 times 1,760. Make sure you pause the video so that you can do your calculations to make sure that you have the correct measurement. So when we multiply 5 times 1,760, we have 8,800 yards. Number 2, we're converting 7 yards into inches, and we know that there are 36 inches in 1 yard. 36 inches in 1 yard, so we have 7 yards, and again, we're going large to small. Let's study math, so we will multiply. Again, pause the video before you check your answer. And so when we multiply 7 times 36, we have 252 inches. Number 5, again, we're going from yards to inches. So we are going to go from a larger unit to a smaller unit. So we will be multiplying 8 times 36 because there are 36 inches in a yard. 8 times 36 is 288 inches. Let's continue on the back. Look at number 7. Which of the following is not a common unit of measurement for the customary system? Again, make sure you're pausing, get your answer, and then replay to find out if you are correct. Well, we know that feet, inches, and miles are all U.S. customary. We know that the meter is the metric system. Okay, next we have number 9. Using the table, Ty has 2 pieces of wood. Use greater than, less than, or equal to compare the pieces of wood. So to compare, we have to set up our problem. We have to set up the expressions. So we will have 1 yard, 9 inches, and we are going to be comparing that to 44 inches. So we're wanting to convert to the smaller unit. So we have yards and inches over here, but we have inches here. So we're going to convert just this 1 yard into how many inches. So we ask ourselves how many inches are in 1 yard, and we know that there are 36 inches in 1 yard, but we already have 9 inches. So when we add those, we have a total of 45 inches. So the first piece of wood is 45 inches. The second piece of wood is 44. So when we compare, we know that 1 yard and 9 inches is greater than 44 inches. Number 10, Lily built an orange shelf and a brown shelf to hang in her room. The orange shelf is 5 feet and 6 inches long. The brown shelf is twice as long. What is the length of the brown shelf? So we know what the orange shelf is. We know that the brown shelf is twice as long. So which one is longer? The brown shelf. How much longer? Twice as long. So 2 times. So we can use 5 feet and 6 inches. And we can solve this a couple different ways. We could go ahead and convert the feet into inches and then double it to get the brown shelf. So we'll do that first. So we know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So that would equal a total of 60 inches, but we already have the 6 inches as well. So 60 plus 6 is going to give us a total of 66 inches, and that's just for the orange shelf. Okay, but the brown shelf is going to be twice this long. So the brown shelf is going to be the 66 inches times 2. And again, make sure that you are pausing the video to solve before you check. So we have 66 times 2, and that will be 132 inches. Because it doesn't tell you to convert it to inches or feet, it's just trying to figure out how long the brown board or the brown shelf will be. So another way that you could solve is to go ahead and take the 5 feet and multiply it by 2, and take the 6 inches and multiply it times 2, and then you're going to add those totals. So 5 times 2 is 10 feet, plus 6 times 2 is 12 inches, and we know that 12 inches is actually equal to 1 foot. So 10 feet plus 1 foot is a total of 11 feet. So when you look at this, if you had to do it both ways, ask yourself, is this equal? Is 132 inches equal to 11 feet? Even though it's not asking you to, but it's good to know. Well, if you know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot, you know 12 times 11 is 132. So either one of these answers would be correct, since I didn't tell you specifically which unit of measurement to use. Okay, here we have a table. And the table shows the name of each volunteer and the height of the baby elephant each volunteer measured. Which volunteer measured the tallest elephant? So we can't compare until we have the same unit of measurement. Just like you can't compare or add or subtract unless you have the same denominator, unless you have the same place value in decimal numbers. So we are going to use the smallest unit, which here is going to be the inches. And then we are going to compare and find the tallest elephant. So we know that we are looking at inches. So I'm going to just make this a column for inches for our conversion. So how many inches are in 2 yards? So we know that 36 inches is in 1 yard. So when we multiply 2 times 36, we have 72 inches. So George's elephant is 72 inches tall. Okay, Kelsey's elephant is 68 inches tall, so we can compare them and go ahead and make the decision which one is the tallest. So between George and Kelsey, who's taller? Right, George's elephant is taller, so we can eliminate Kelsey's elephant being the tallest. 5 feet, so we need to find out how many inches. Well, there's 12 inches in a foot, so 5 times 12 is 60, so compare that to George's 72 inches. So we know that Mariah's is not taller than George's. Okay, then we have 5 foot 10 inches for Brian. So we know 5 feet is 60 inches plus the 10 inches. So we know that Brian's elephant is 70 inches tall, which is still not taller than George's. So George has the tallest elephant. Okay, now you're going to do the practice for converting units using the customary units of length. And then the next part, you can pause it until you complete that and then go on to the PowerPoint and check your answers for that. So when you're ready, you come back and we're going to do the next lesson, which is using the metric system the metric system units of length. And this is going to start on page 857, but wait until you have finished solving and checking your answers on the previous one. So if we look at page 857, we notice again, these are our conversions, and they even give you an idea of the thickness or the height of something. So a millimeter is about the thickness of a dime, which is pretty thin. A centimeter is the width of your pinky finger, not the length, but the width of your pinky finger. And then a meter is the height of a doorknob, so it's about 3 feet, a little over 3 feet. And a kilometer is less than a mile, but it's about 6 city blocks. So again, notice that using the metric system, we are using powers of 10, which will make it so much simpler for you when you're multiplying. And again, remember, we're using conversions from largest unit to smaller unit, okay? All right, on page 861, we are doing number 3, 4, 5. So with number 3, again, remember, pause to do your calculations before you check. So we're looking at kilometers to centimeters, and you're going to multiply. So we need to find out how many centimeters are in 1 kilometer. All right, so if you look at the conversion on page 857, there is not a conversion that goes from centimeters to kilometers, but we do know how many centimeters are in a meter, and we know how many meters are in a kilometer. So there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So we would have to multiply these numbers, and when we do, we will get, and then 1 times 1. So we have 100,000 times. So when we multiply, multiply 1 7/10 times 100,000, we move our decimal point to the right 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fill in the zeros. And we have 170,000 centimeters in 1 kilometer. Okay. Next, we are converting from kilometers to meters. So how many meters are in 1 kilometer? Well, we know that there are 1,000. So in 2 kilometers, there are 2,000 meters. Number 5, we are looking at centimeters to millimeters. So how many millimeters are in 1 centimeter? There are 10. So we know that there are 60 millimeters in 6 centimeters. All right, let's look at the back on 862. Look at number 10. The depth of a swimming pool is 8.5 meters. What is half of the depth in millimeters? So there's a couple things we're going to have to do. First, we have to convert the meters into millimeters. So we have 8.5 meters, and we need to find out how many millimeters we have. So we know that there are 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. So we again move our decimal point to the right. 1, 2, 3 places. 1, 2, 3, add the zeros. So we know that we have 8,500 millimeters. But that's not what it's asking for. It is asking for half of the depth in millimeters. So now we have to have 8,500 divided by 2, which is the same as 8,500 halves. So when we multiply, we can do partial quotients or area model, but we know that we can go into 8. 2 can go into 8 4 times, and 4 times 2 is 8. So 2 can go into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4 with 1 left over. So that would be 2 is now going into 10, which is 5 times, and then 2 goes into 0, 0 times. So we know that the half of the depth in millimeters is 4,250 millimeters. All right, let's look at our vocabulary. We have millimeter, centimeter, meter, kilometer, and metric system. The blank is an appropriate unit to measure the length of a ladybug. So which ones do you think that you could possibly use to measure the length of a ladybug? Well, you know it's not going to be the words metric system and kilometer and meter, because those are pretty large. unless you have a giant ladybug. All right, so now look at millimeter and centimeter. So which one would be the size of a ladybug? That's right, millimeter. Okay, the distance, not the distance, sorry. The blank is an appropriate unit to measure the distance between two cities. So do you need a smaller unit or do you need a larger unit? Right, you need a larger unit. So are you going to measure the distance between two cities with a meter or a kilometer? That's right, because remember, a kilometer is like a mile, about a mile. All right, and the last one, the blank is a decimal system of measurement. Decimal system of measurement. Well, we know that that has to be the metric system. All right, and our final problem, number 14. Kaylin is reading a book. The book's thickness is 31 millimeters, which is correct, the correct thickness in centimeters. So again, write your problem as 31 millimeters is equal to blank centimeters. Remember the blank, the answer has to be on the right for the trick to work, okay? So we are going from small to large here, but we need to figure out which one of these is going to be correct. And so we know that when we're going from small to large, we will sled, so that means that we're going to be dividing. But what we could do is multiply by using these answer choices here. So we can multiply to find out how many centimeters, or excuse me, how many millimeters will be in these centimeters. So if we want to convert each of these to millimeters, we know that there are how many millimeters in 1 centimeter? We know that there are 10. So we could be multiplying each one of these by 10. So we know that this will be 30.01. We know this will be 30.1. And we know that this will be 31. And we know that this will be 31.1. So which one of these matches the 31 millimeters? Well, that would be C. All right, it's your turn to practice. So till next time, make sure that you are asking your teacher questions if you have any.